Hello and welcome to Random Dialogue's June event. This is a session for 6 speakers to share stories, something they feel passionate about, for up to 6 minutes each, and time for quick fire Q&A too. We might be here for an hour, we might be here for less. If you're dialing in, we'd love to hear from you too, so you can chat with us. You can use the chat in the comments and we'll engage with you throughout. I'm just going to whiz round now and just ask everyone to say who they are and the title of their talk, and then we'll start. So Colin, what's your title of your talk?
Hello everybody, my name's Colin. My name's Colin. I call myself the explainer guy, which I will try and explain. And my talk is called If Music is the Food of Life.
Thank you.
I'm sitting in Johannesburg, South Africa, by the way.
Anna.
Hi, I'm Anna, and my talk tonight is, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Anyone? Anyone know? Thank you, Anna. And Ruth.
Hi, yes, I'm Ruth. My talk is going to be how a community mindset creates more for all.
Thank you, Ruth, and welcome. And Mark.
My 1 minute talk, because that's what I understood it to be, which may be extended beyond 1 minute, is gone down with a dose of eudemonia.
Fabulous.
I'm soon to be unemployed as well.
Thank you. Roy.
Well, I'm just going to be giving sleep tips, and I guess my talk is coping with insomnia.
Thank you all. And I was going to do a little bit of an interactive bit around 100 days of resilient kids, but I'm not going to talk about 100 days of resilient kids necessarily. I'm going to talk about a 100-day project, which we could all perhaps have a play with later on. So we've got a few people viewing. I don't know if there's any comments so far. If you are looking in actually and you comment, you have to, there's a little thing you have to kind of agree to, I think, before you comment, so we can see your comments coming up and who you are. So I don't know who that is that's speaking at the moment and who said something, so I'll leave it for now. Okay, is everyone ready? Colin, are you good to go? I'm going to put you onto solo layout if you are.
I'm good to go, yeah.
Here we go then.
Tell me
If
when
music,
you cue me in.
Music be the food of life. Here you go.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm going to answer Anne-Lise's question. Actually, what did I want to be when I grew up? I wanted to be a musician, but I've only just realized that in the last week, in fact. My name is Colin. I call myself the explainer guy. And that's literally what I try and do. I try and explain things, both myself and other people's businesses primarily, through, interestingly enough, pictures. Very late in my life, I've become what is called a doodler. I literally draw childlike pictures to simplify, to clarify, and to communicate complex messages. And Leonardo da Vinci used the phrase, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. I'm part of a business organization called BNI, a business networking organization, and I'm very active in it, both in South Africa, where I'm resident, but internationally, because I'm what is called an educator. I try and teach people about BNI and how to, and I was asked to speak at an event through BNI, funnily enough, on Saturday, and it was called If Music Be the Food of Life. Now, those of you who are literally bent may know that the first line, I think, in As You Like It is if music be the food of love, play on. And the person who says it is besotted. In fact, he's a what do you call it? Anyway, he's a passionate lover, and he thinks the more that music plays, the less he will. Anyway, I was asked to speak at this event about music and music in today's business environment. And in preparing for it, I went back over my life, and I realized what a huge role music has had in my life. I was born and brought up in Liverpool, the home of the Beatles. The only time I've had the pleasure of meeting one of the Beatles was when I fell over, literally, in a very drunken stupor, Ringo's drum. And Ringo didn't say something that was very kind to me, but of course I went ferrying across the Mersey many, many times. It was to visit our local beaches on the other side of the Mersey. Anyway, in preparing for this talk, I started to look back and I realized, I'd always wanted to be a musician and still do, but not, well, maybe John Lennon. Well, not the way John Lennon is now, of course, but my hero was always Mick Jagger. I wanted to be Mick Jagger and I still want to be him. But then I started to think about how much it's played in so I learned all of those songs. I can still sing them. Don't ask me to sing a rap song, I can't, but I can sing all of those old medleys. And as my life has gone on, I've had experiences in music. I was hugely fortunate some years ago to go to the opening night of the main season, the 7th of December, at La Scala Milano, to listen to Placido Domingo sing 5 hours of the opera Parsifal. And wow, you got to be dedicated to do that. And then I started to realize that over the years, being an educator and being a communicator and trying to communicate with pictures to tell stories, how much I've used music to complement those pictures. And I will frequently associate a line of a music song with a picture to basically convey emotion, happiness, sadness, obviously love, and I just started to reflect, and I actually now, by the way, I was educated in England, in Liverpool, as an engineer, but I'm not an engineer now. I don't even touch. I draw pictures and I sing songs to communicate. But it's helped me communicate. It's helped me visualize. It's helped me engage with audiences and create emotion, because it also brings out emotion in the audience. And when you establish emotion, hopefully most of it's happy and we're laughing together. If your audience laughs with you, you know they're listening to you. So, but now the interesting thing from Saturday is I've suddenly, from a business sense, realized what an opportunity there is in the current business world. Now, we're all saying, we're all locked down and there's no opportunity. There's incredible opportunity, but we've got to think differently, because there's basically 4 universes. There's all the artists, there's all the audiences, there's the people who have venues, concert halls, etc. And there's the people who want to sponsor and pay for entertainment, emotion, classical music, etc. And particularly classical music attracts a very educated audience. And generally, they are the people who have the capacity to pay, so they're attractive clients. So I found now a way of finding my next life, which is bringing these 4 universes together and helping them communicate with each other and open up opportunities. You can't fill concert halls in today's world, but you can fill small baronial dining halls in castles with groups of chamber artists. So this has opened up a whole new dimension for my business, to help to communicate and bring these 4 universes together and basically simplify. And since Saturday, I finished a call earlier with a singer in Scotland who I think can help stroke victims recover from loss of speech. So music is the food of life, and it's certainly, when I reflect on it, been the food of my life. and I think it's going to feed me in my next life. So that's my story, and I would encourage you to reflect through pictures, through music, through words of what you may not realize it, what is a passion in your life. And the fact that I will never, ever be on a stage and sing like Mick Jagger, but I can pretend I am. So that's my story. I hope I've explained it clearly. And if any of you want to engage with me and sing a song or two, we can do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colin. Should we all unmute for a moment? Colin, why Mick Jagger?
Oh, I don't know. He was just a rebel, and I think I'm a rebel. He you know, and I'm Bob Dylan. You know, times are a changing. You've got to change, and if you don't change, you'll die. So, so I just liked, not anti-establishment. I just like challenging. I say why, but I say why not. If you tell me, well, why must I do it? I say, well, why mustn't you do it? So.
Wonderful.
And actually, and there's many, sorry, just on a business context, there's many serious articles being written. He has superb command of an audience and command of a stage. And you can learn from that in a business context. So
can you dance like Jagger? I bet that's Jason. You got an audience that ask you, can you dance like Jagger?
Well, I haven't got a tongue like him either, but yeah, I can actually. I can, but not tonight. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Colin. That's wonderful. So if you're just tuning in, this is Random Dialogues. We meet monthly, and it's about giving community a voice, and everyone's got a story in them. Everyone's got a story to share. Perhaps not always the opportunity to go live and to share it. And hopefully by coming along tonight, you get the opportunity. And also, not all of us are speakers. Some of us haven't spoken publicly before like this, and a little bit out of our comfort zones. But there was a lady who came along a few months ago called Esme. She has spoken at a couple of events, but she came along tonight, and then I was able to, someone was looking for a speaker, so she's gone along to speak at another event tonight. So hopefully, if you like this, like the idea of doing this, you want to do some more, there'll be some more speaking opportunities. And if you're watching and you think, actually, yeah, I'd really like to come on and have a go at this, then get in contact. We used to meet in the pub, and now we're online. So over to Anna. You ready? Shall I put you into solo?
Yep, go for it.
Oh, here you go. Well, good luck. We're behind you, and we'll all go on to mute as well.
Thank you. So I'm Anna, and I'm a voiceover artist. But this is a very recent thing, and I haven't been a voiceover artist for very long, let alone my whole life. And it got me thinking. I've got 3 teenage boys, and all 3 of them have often at some point over the last year or 2 said, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, Mum. I don't know what I want to study. I don't know what I want to do. And I sat there and I listened, and I've always had the do what interests you, do what you love. And then I started looking back, and I started thinking about our responsibilities, because in my former life, so to speak, I used to be a teacher. But going right the way back before then, I went back to my own childhood, and I was about 7 years old. And I remember turning around to my mum, and she told me that she used to be a nurse when she was younger. And I was about 9, and I was growing quite fast and getting tall. And I used to have achy knees and things like that. And I turned around to my mum and I said, I want to be a nurse when I grow up, Mum. And my mum turned around and she goes, oh, you could never be a nurse, Anna. You haven't got the knees for it. And I sort of stopped and never really said anything. But that idea went crashing down. And then when I was about 13 or 14 and I was at secondary school, I started getting into plays and I started really enjoying it. And then I was about 15 and I turned around to my mum and dad and I said, I really want to be an actress. And they didn't say anything. And then a bit later, I'd done my GCSEs and I was just choosing A-levels and doing theatre studies. And I was doing my A-levels and I said to Mummy, I really want to be an actress. She went, no, you're not going to be an actress. I won't have any daughter of mine sleep their way to the top. And I didn't say anything. But what I didn't realise at the time was that was another dream that came crashing down. Anyway, I started, I went off to university and I studied teaching. I studied a Bachelor of Education and majored in English and was doing drama whenever I could. And I had a 23-year career in teaching that I absolutely adored. I loved it. I loved every moment of it because I realized looking back that it was like living every moment on a stage. Every day was different. I got to help children. I was performing. I was doing all sorts. And I thoroughly enjoyed it and I don't regret it at all. And I've always been aware that when parents would turn around to me and say, oh, he's a blighter, I can't get him to do this, or he's always getting in trouble, or he's always doing that. And I'd always turn around to them and say, just remember that something that you feel is holding them back now could turn into a strength later on. I always remember a famous Robbie Williams, the singer. A teacher reportedly said of him, he'll never amount to anything. He's just a joker. Look at him. Look where he went. Who has the right to tell people what they're going to be when they grow up or how they're going to be? So I've always been very aware of that as a teacher. And then having enjoyed teaching for 23 years, I suddenly decided, what else could I use my skills for? How else can I make a mark in the world apart from teaching, even though I love it? And I went straight back to that love I had when I was so much younger of acting. And I thought, I want to share my voice. I want to be creative in that way. So I retrained at 46 and became a voiceover artist. And it made me realize that it's never too late to change career. It's never too late to try something new. So now when my boys turn round to me and say, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, Mum, say, just be happy, be yourself, be everything you want to be. It's not a profession, it's an attitude, it's a feeling. I would much rather that we taught children how to be resilient, how to be creative, how to be daring. They're the skills we should be teaching children how to be. That will naturally lead into them becoming fantastic architects, lovely carers, people who are out there serving the country in the military, policemen, shop owners. All of those things will come naturally if we teach our youngsters how to develop skills and attitudes that are life learning skills. That's what's important. And I think you can do anything you want to be. Nothing should hold you back. And so I take that from my own experience from when I was younger, that now I just say, don't worry, you don't need to have the answers of what you're going to be at 60, at the age of 18, at the age of 19, 20. Go with the flow, do what you enjoy, and be the best person you can be, but be true to yourself. And if you're true to your heart, you will be everything that you want. And that's what I wanted to talk about. So when someone says to me, what do you want to be when you're older or when you grow up, if you ever grow up, I'd say I want to be happy. I want to be secure, and I want to be confident in myself. And I think finally I'm starting to find that. So that's my message for this evening.
Beautiful. Thank you, Anne-Lise.
That's absolutely lovely.
Thank you. So what did you want to be when you were younger? Because we're all asked those questions, but we always think of it in terms of professions like a fireman or I want to go to space. And it's almost expectations that we have, sort of what people expect young children to say and do.
I want to play football for England, if that helps.
Yeah, there you go.
Ian says, love it.
There's a very famous quotation which is attributed to John Lennon, which says that when he was brought up in a very difficult childhood. His mother always said to him, all you want to be is happy. When he went to school, the teacher sat them down and said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And one said a fireman, and John said happy. And the teacher said, you don't understand the assignment. And John said, you don't understand life.
True.
And funnily enough, Anne-Lise, I'm echoing again. I was in a school this week and they were doing photos of what they want to be when they grow up.
There you go. And I bet there were firemen, nurses.
I'm
yeah.
the same as you. I've never liked asking
Well,
that question.
it's very hard because, yes, some people they've got this natural desire and they know what they want to be career-wise. But the majority of people, they don't. And we fall from one thing to another and into another until we eventually find what makes us tick. But I think we should develop the skills more, and then the professions will follow. Sorry, Ruth.
Sorry, I was just going to say, it happens in adulthood as well. It's one of those like dinner party questions. And what do you do?
Yes, it's the first question people ask you.
And we define ourselves very much by our professions. And often there's an element of ourselves in the professions we fall into, but it doesn't encapsulate everything we are.
No.
By a long talk.
But you're absolute, yeah.
Thank you to Eugenia for being here as well. She says, so true, Anna, and I wish the educational system would take all that you said on board. How much better and resilient our kids would be.
I mean, they are definitely starting to. I know that a lot of primary schools, and certainly the one that I was teaching at recently, we had our hearts, and that was at the centre of our ethos of the school. And the hearts were perseverance, resilience, growth mindset, cooperation. We had all of these, and that's so much more important. So I think schools are getting there, but it's just going to take a lot of time, especially maybe more secondary schools. Yeah.
Definitely. There is definitely a shift. But they're still doing a lot of testing and content-driven stuff. And it's
Anne-Lise, you do have a very lovely voice. You thought about doing radio?
Yes, I want to get into the radio. If you know anyone, just drop me a line.
I might do.
You might do. Oh, thank you very much. And Random Dialogue was actually set up to be playful, a space for something and nothing. It was like create from the random. So there wasn't there was kind of what do you want to. We were sort of tired of people saying, "What do you do? What do you want to be?" Actually, Random Dialogues, it's random. So it's actually a space to come and play, create, and it's almost like a school for adults.
It is.
And one of the ways you can change that as well is to ask different questions. I remember I sort of promised myself I wouldn't ask someone what they do or if they had a partner, because they're the two most annoying questions ever. Absolutely. So just sort of saying things like, what's the best thing you did in the last 6 months? And those kind of things. So people actually reframe themselves in that context. So I think it's not just the educational system, it's society at large that sort of places too much importance on having a profession, and those professions that fall into the, stereotypical categories as well, when actually the kids who are in school now, half the jobs they're going to do aren't even known yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Millennials juggling many plates, having multiple income streams. It's a totally different world they're heading into, and whether they're well equipped for that or not remains to be seen.
Ruth, are you okay to speak now?
I am. I'm a little nervous. This is my first.
Yes, welcome. So, would you like? You're happy to be like this, aren't you? In this layout, do you prefer?
Yeah,
this
I feel safer in the crowd, and since I am talking about community, it sort of seems apt that I should have your lovely faces around me. So just nod encouragingly every now and then. Don't leave your chair when I need you most. So my name's Ruth. Jane and I met through community, a community of a different sort, and she invited me to speak tonight, and I didn't know what to speak about, and when I put my hand on my heart and thought, the word community came to mind. So I called this session How a Community Mindset Creates More for All. And I think it touches on or develops from the previous chat about, the skills that children need, and collaboration and cross-fertilization are massive, massive things. And they have a gestalt effect. So as much as we can teach these kids individually to have these skills that they're going to need going forward, if they can't collaborate and communicate, they're going to be somewhat held back, I think, in the future. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that in how my small way, I'm just starting to build a community. So I would say the foundations are very much laid, but even at this very early stage, it's quite exciting because it's creating a lot of buzz, and it's bringing people together who are literally neighbours who have never really spoken before. And when I was thinking about what community is. I think in the very early days of lockdown, we had a wonderful sense of community because we were all in it together, weren't we? And everyone was knocking on everyone's doors and checking everyone was looked after and what have you, and being very disciplined with varying degrees, I suppose, about what lockdown meant for us personally, making sure we protected those people that needed protection and what have you. But then over a period of time, I think that waned and the reset sort of happened, not in the way the book suggests, but more that we went back to how we were before, which I think is a great shame. In terms of the community that I'm creating and building, and when I say I should say we, because it is a community after all. Jane and I both live in a little suburb in Surrey called Burtham, and I, by profession, do a variety of things. And one of the things I do is teach yoga. And I had a very significant birthday during lockdown and was lucky enough to be given a yurt for my birthday, which is quite an unusual present to be getting. And the idea being, because I could no longer teach in the clubs and halls I was teaching in, that when lockdown finished, I would have my own venue for teaching yoga, which was lovely. But I didn't want to just teach yoga in it. I wanted to involve more people, not just from a commercial viewpoint, but from a community viewpoint. So instead of calling it Ruth's Yurt, which was on the possibilities list, I called it Birth and Wellbeing. And I wanted it to encapsulate the location and the purpose of the space. And to that end, I started to create a community on Facebook and just started inviting people in and around Burtham who had any provision of wellbeing in their professional portfolio to join the group. And literally within a week, we had 30 members. And Burtham isn't exactly, you know, a massive area, but to have 30 professionals in they call it a village, but it really isn't, in the suburb, all delivering some kind of well-being. And I do think well-being is a wonderful umbrella phrase. So we've got people like Jane with her resilient kids. We've got other yoga teachers like me. We've got Reiki practitioners, reflexologists, crystal healers, cricket coaches, football coaches, forest immersion people, you know, anything, craft and arts people as well that came under that umbrella. Whatever age they looked after, however they provided well-being, they joined the group, carried on promoting it. And we're now up to 52 members. And I'm trying to think exactly when I started it. Jane probably know better than me. It's only been maybe 2, possibly 3 months to get to this point. And obviously it's very early days. And in terms of how we can operate as a community, it's been restricted until the middle of May. But already it's coming to fruition just through the connections we had. We were able to meet as soon as lockdown allowed as a small group, those that could make it, and just walked our way around the circle and talked about what everybody was doing and what they wanted to do. And off the back of that, you know, new connections were formed, and new business opportunities evolved, because there's a lot of synergy obviously between our location and our professions, and that was what we envisaged happening. And subsequent to that, Jane and I have met a few times, and we're now planning a Wellfest, Birth and Wellfest, through the summer, which will be a whole variety of community-based events aimed at all ages and delivering well-being in all kinds of ways. And we've been lucky enough to garner the support of our local councillor as well on that. So he's all for it, but you can't think of a reason why he shouldn't be. So that was really what I just wanted to talk about in summary, and just the fact that we can now collaborate in this way through social media and educate people about what is on their doorstep. The road directly up from me, where Jane lives, there are 3 people with log cabins in their gardens doing beauty therapy. I mean, who knew? And there's a yoga teacher that lives next door to one of them, and there's an aromatherapist along the way. Now, previous to me putting it on Facebook, these people didn't know about what they were doing or what their connections were. And I don't know whether Burtham's like a freaky place where a lot of this happens, but I would envisage that most small communities have as much going on proportionally to the people that live there. And with more and more people working from home, then they can bring the well-being to their sort of doorstep. So, for example, I'm just doing a nice early morning yoga class at 7:30, so the home workers can come, do some yoga, walk to their workout, walk home, and log on and get on with their day's work. So I don't know whether I've sort of stuck to the brief there time-wise, but that was just basically all I wanted to say.
Well done.
Thank you for inviting me, Jane.
Thank you for coming along and joining our community. Has anyone got any questions for Ruth? There was a picture we took in the yurt a couple of weeks ago, and Ian said, "Is that the dungaree, the birth from dungaree modelling space?" Because there's a picture of me and my dungarees, and we were back to back on the chairs, weren't we?
Yes, yeah.
I saw that, yeah.
And when we talk about birth and being a village, can I just point out as well, there's a big Sainsbury's here and an Aldi.
Yeah.
It was a village, wasn't it?
I think historically, of course, it was, but like everything's sort of splurged and merged, hasn't it? And nobody knows where the town ends and Burford begins really anymore. So yeah. But it's a shame because, but it's kind of trying to, what we're trying to do with this community is bring back that kind of village mentality, and separate to that, like last week Jane and I met, and previous to us meeting we both had random dialogues with complete strangers, but they both heard about birth and well-being, hadn't they, Jane? Yeah. So word is spreading. How much through social media, how much through actual word of mouth and talking, I don't know, but it's a lovely vibe, and it's and I do think it's applicable in wider businesses as well, not just in terms of the silo of an individual business, but the community in which the business operates, rather than it just being seen as like a sales pipeline or whatever have you, but just more about how collectively they can support each other. A bit of two-way traffic, really.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ruth.
My pleasure.
Now, I'm not going to do my little bit now. I was going to ask Mark, would you like to speak now? Take the centre stage.
I'm happy to, with my script more than a speech. As you know, I think it's rather sudden, and I read 60 seconds, so I'll do my best to extrapolate.
Well, it is random dialogues, and it can be 60 seconds. If that's enough time to just get out what you need to say, and that's fine. And do you want to go into solo to say that 60 seconds, or did you say you did, or you want to be?
I'm
take
quite
centre
happy
stage.
to stay
60.
I'm quite happy to. It's actually from a blog I wrote a while ago at Previous Employ, and I have it here to my right. So I've not got a squinty eye. I am looking across at it. So I will admit to being a bit scripted, but so I'll at least start that way, if that's all right with you, Jane.
Solo, yeah, to start with.
Yeah, quite happy to. Yeah, and I'll just.
There you are.
So here I go. So the title of my dialogue is "Going Down with a Dose of Eudemonia," and as my wife said to me, she thought it sounded like a bad cold, but it's actually quite the opposite. It's something a bit more interesting. So this is the scripted part. Yet again of late, I've contemplated my own sense of purpose. Why am I here? What are my skills and gifts? I preach to my family and friends that we all have those skills and gifts, and I point out theirs often, but I can't seem to locate my own. At 56, as I now am, in my late 50s with 60 next thing round the corner, I'm still at a loss as to what that purpose is. What I need to do is feel a sense of eudemonia. I need to feel eudaimonic. Eudaimonia is the sense of fulfillment that arises from achieving one's full potential as a human being. So how can I or we achieve this state? Perhaps I won't know until the end. Perhaps it's for others to tell me. Perhaps they have told me and I just can't accept what mine is. Socrates and Plato believed that virtue was a form of knowledge, and this encompassed justice, piety, and courage. Socrates viewed this knowledge as a call for humans to do the ultimate good, which is in itself eudaimonia. I think I do this. I am certainly a giver and a people pleaser, sometimes to my own detriment, and my closest ones tell me that this is what I am. So perhaps I already know what I am. So that's my 60-second bit. But the thing I'll go to is the end of the blog that I wrote about a year ago, because clearly I've been contemplating this for some time, actually probably decades. And it's a quote from Albert Schweitzer that says, "I don't know what your destiny will be, but one thing I do know, the only ones among you who will be really happy and those who have sought and are those who have sought and found how to serve." And I do think that for me is my sense of purpose, is to give. I think it is our sense of purpose to give. I think that I've heard the quote many times that the reason for life is to search out what our gifts are, and the purpose is to give that away. And I guess I'm trying to find out what mine are. I probably do. They're not as glorious as I would like to think they are. I'm not a famous writer. I'm not a philanthropist. I'm not rich. I don't have, I'm not a plumber, or I don't have a trade that I can go around to my friends' houses and fix their electrics, fix their car. So the things that I do are simply giving. I have a brother that's disabled, and since our parents passed away, he lives alone. And I look after him, and that is a lot of my sense of purpose. And I do get a lot of sense of achievement out of that. So I think sometimes, sort of going on from the early speech about, what is it we want to be when we grow up? Well, I'm 56. I've still no idea. I've still not grown up at all. In fact, I wanted to be a stuntman, and I kind of have been, because I've spent most of my life falling over and getting up. So I guess I've kind of done that in a way. But I do think, certainly for me and for most people, it is to give away everything that we've learned. I noticed that, I think it was Colin that said it was B&I, and their slogan is "Givers Gain." And I think that those that give away get the most back. So from here on, I would be quite happy to discuss it rather than talk about it as a speech, if that's okay with you, Joan.
Absolutely. It's lovely.
Mark, that really resonates with me, because I literally have no idea what my purpose is, and I've started thinking about it more and more. I'm growing 2 young men, and I'm not talking about the 2 staff that work for me. I'm talking about my 2 sons. And my businesses are doing okay, and the kids are great. But I don't know what I'm doing. Like, what is the end goal? I feel like life hasn't really started until I work that out.
There is something I can share, not now, but it's kind of a process you can go through that, and there's 2 words you can discover through it, and then it's almost like your essence of life and what you're here about. And it's nice when you get it.
Purpose me up, Jane. That'd be great.
Book you in.
But I think it actually goes back to what Anne-Lise was saying about, what is it we want to do when we grow up. And when I've investigated this, because this Eudemonia I picked up from a book that I was given as a birthday present at last employed by who I thought were my friends, and it's called Brain Rules for the Aging. So I felt a little bit insulted, because I thought they're giving me this because they think I'm old. And it sat on my bookshelf for a long time, and I finally read it, and it was very interesting. And I went on to read the original one, which was a multi-million bestseller called Brain Rules, and they're fantastic books. But for all that way, the complex way the brain works, it came back to that philosophy. But I sort of say, go back to what Anne-Lise said, and it's, what do we want to be when we grow up? And a lot of people have said to me, if you want to find your true purpose, go back to what it was, what you really wanted to do when you were younger, and that's where you'll find your joy.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think, like you're saying, what do you want to be when you grow up? Fulfilled, happy, content. And actually, if you think about it, I've come full circle, and I've ended up back at the creative path that when I was young, I'd recognise that that's what I wanted, and that's what made me tick. And following other things all throughout, obligations, or whether we felt duty or expectations of others. And I think absolutely, I learned a new word tonight as well. Thank you, Mark, which was very good.
I had to look the word up, and then I remembered my university professor was very much into philosophy, and I emailed him and said about it, and he was going to tune in. I don't know if he's tuning in. He's called Dr. Anthony Hesketh, and it might be nice for you to connect with him over that as well, actually, because I think he's written quite a few bits around business in it as well. So thank you very much, Mark.
So certainly, I find those words that I often find them on Pinterest, and then I sort of go off like I do when I'm writing, and it just go off down a seam and down a rabbit hole. And you'll find some fantastic words on Pinterest that some of them are, taken from other languages and have become into the English language. And it's a great way of discovering new things, that's for sure.
Ian writes, can you all see the comments if I put them up on the screen?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
fine. So you can see what Ian said. Yeah. So
that's a great quote. Yeah, I've seen that one before from Dalai Lama. It's great.
What do we feel what we do is not purposeful enough, and it probably
exactly.
is.
Yeah.
I think kindness, being kind, and just a nice can go a long way in life, can't it?
Yeah, well, we're told that, unfortunately, we're told that nice guys don't win, and those, if you're a nice guy, you've not been successful. But I think that actually it's the other way around. You can be rich and successful, but actually you've failed because you've not given away, you've not been philanthropic and given stuff away.
But success is simply achieving what you set out to achieve. So if you achieve what you set out to achieve, you're successful by definition. It's self-defined. It's not defined outside of yourself, I don't think.
Definitely. Thank you then, Mark. Are we going to go to Roy now? Roy, are you going to send us to sleep?
Lovely if someone could send me to sleep.
Do you want to go solo?
Yeah, solo
sleep?
That's fine.
Okay, so over to Roy. He's going to talk about, let's put you into solo. What are you going to talk about, Roy?
So basically for about 20 years, I survived on between 1.5 and 3 hours sleep a night. And I know that's quite extreme, but a lot of people have struggled with their sleep in the pandemic. So I'm just going to talk to you about my journey, how I've improved, and field any questions at the end, but hopefully some tips that if you're struggling, then, maybe you can learn something from this. So I can't just be stitched up. My housemate, what are you doing? I'm talking. That is that is a life-size cat out of me given to me and my sons who wanted a proper-sized dad, which is a bit hard. Thanks for stitching me up, Mike. So basically, what I was doing when I was having such little sleep, I was kind of falling asleep at maybe 10:30, and then I'd wake up an hour and a half later, wouldn't be able to get to sleep. Sometimes I'd have another hour and a half cycle sleep, maybe 7 o'clock in the morning, which I could never commit to BNI. So sorry about that, because I would just be too exhausted. In terms of how it affected me, I was lucky enough to be happy. I was lucky enough not to be stressed about it. Some of the time in the middle of the night, I would do such productive work, especially admin in a job. Or one time, the missus at the time woke up and said, "Have you drawn a massive zigzag and painted it in the office?" Which is exactly what I did. So I kind of had it as useful time, did a lot of reading. But during the day, I was surviving, not thriving. The kids were getting fed, clients were getting dealt with, emails were getting sorted, but I just had nothing left to drive the business forward. So someone suggested contacting the Royal Surrey Insomnia Clinic, which I did 2 years ago. And it was a game changer, funny enough. But what was fascinating, I'm in a couple of insomnia groups and they seem to talk about what do you take, how much do you take of a certain type of thing. It was all about, they said 95% of people we fix and the 5% we can't is because they've got a medical issues why they can't sleep. And the solution's really simple. You just need routine. It is really simple. You've just got out of your circadian rhythm. And your body just doesn't know when it's bedtime. So the initial phase is pretty brutal. So it's sleep restriction. So I wasn't allowed to sleep before 1 a.m. no matter how tired I was. And actually, it's quite easy to re-wake when you're falling asleep on the sofa, watching something at 9, 10, 30. All you got to do is get up and walk around. And that was always enough to wake me back up. Initially, I would go to sleep at 1 a.m. and I'd be absolutely wired and wide awake. But then I could never get up past 7 o'clock in the morning. I had to be up and out of my bed straight away at 7 o'clock in the morning. So the first few weeks, you're exhausted. You then can't lie in. That was always the way I sort of caught up, was have a little lie in the morning till 8:30 or something like that. Couldn't do that anymore. But slowly after time, I started to get a bit more sleep. And the golden ticket for the sleep clinics is for you to get 6 hours of solid sleep rather than a long unbroken night. And I managed to achieve that. And then I thought what I'd do is I'd tell you now about my routine. So as you know, I get up at 7 o'clock without fail. And whatever time is the earliest time you get up during the week, that's your regular start time. Don't ever change it. Not weekends, not if you've been partying. Always get up. The first thing I do is get some sunshine. Now, when it's beautiful like it is at the moment, I'm going to sit on my balcony. When it's really cloudy, I force myself to go for a walk. Only a short walk. A room with great lighting will have a lux level of 10,000. A cloudy day will have 100,000. So get yourself outside. The other thing you can't do when you're asleep, or most people can't do, is eat. So I have something small, a bit of fruit or something like that. I don't really want to eat breakfast, but I have something small. For 3 seasons of the year, I take vitamin D for other reasons of the sunshine. That's all I do in the morning, and then the clock is ticking for my sleep desire. I cannot nap, and then all the things I do revolve around bedtime. I'm going to take it that anyone that's got sleep issues knows about sleep hygiene in terms of looking at screens, caffeine, you know, a cool bedroom, black, dark bedroom. You know, I'm going to take it that you know all that, but I'll just tell you what my routine is. And this is what I do now. So at 11 p.m., I put on some glasses, a bit like Bono. They're orange light limiting glasses. If I'm watching a program I'm enjoying, I can still watch it. They say a laptop screen or a mobile phone screen or an iPad is 6 times more invasive than a TV that's at the other side of the room. So I can allow myself to finish a TV program until 11:30. If not, it goes straight off. And then I have a mixture of things that I bring in. I do some meditation, which I've always struggled with. I do some yoga. I do some stretching, a bit of Pilates. I've got a roller thing I use. I quite like a tapping technique, or I read. And then the golden tips there are: do not get into bed until I feel like I'm really tired and want to sleep. And then the final thing to say is, if you're lying in bed and you're not asleep, you just have to get up. Get up and do something boring. I stick on the Bono glasses and I read, and it might be 5 minutes and I'm really tired, or it might be 2.5 hours, but I cannot get back to bed until I'm asleep. And now I'm still want to improve. I get between 5.5, 6 hours a night now, and that's enough for me. There you go. Any questions?
Fantastic, thank you.
Thanks for staying awake while you're watching.
Yeah, we just. I love the lux levels. You've told me this before, and I think that's really helped even with teaching the kids the resilient for the kids' work I do. You know, and just saying, you know, we've got to get out. And I was with someone the other day, and that child was having a lot of trouble sleeping, and he needs a reset. Anyone struggled during the pandemic? And it's affected a few people.
I'm a really, really light sleeper. The pandemic didn't make
such thing, Anne-Lise. There's no such thing. I've read every single book. So that might mean your quality's not as good.
Yes.
So you might be going to bed too early. You might, if you went to bed later and slept deeper, then nothing would wake you up.
I might try that. Mind you, I go to bed about 11:30ish, and I'm up at 6 to 6:30.
That sounds like you're doing the right amount of time.
Yeah. I wake up a lot in the night, turning over, etc., and I'm awake. But I do go straight back to sleep generally now. I don't have patches of insomnia, so
that in case you've got nothing to worry about.
Thank you, Dr. Roy. I'm happy.
I'm not a sleep expert, by the way. I should probably say that at the start. I've just read every book that's ever been written on it.
Anyone else? Now, I'm just going to, in the chat, you too, Eugenia, is looking on via YouTube. And I think the YouTube delays itself. So I think the Facebook comments come through quite quickly. And I'm not sure whether next time to stream on one platform, because it's, I don't know if you can all, the people who are sort of in the audience, thank you so much, can see each other's comments as well. So here's Ian. Very useful. I've started reading a few pages of a novel each night before bed and enjoying it. And, this is a comment from Eugenia earlier for Mark. Quite agree. Nice. Oh, can you see that? Nice guys and girls always win at the end.
Good to know.
Right. So I was going to finish. I normally read from a blog actually, but I'm a bit out of my comfort zone. I'm not actually going to give a talk as such. I was going to talk about something that I do with someone I've met in a community group online. So I'm involved with quite a few community groups online, and I met a few years ago via the Thought Space community, a lady called Professor Rama Dasaratha, and she kind of just was quite heavily into tech and playing stuff forward and writing and always publishing forward. And I caught up with what she was doing, and I liked what she was writing, and I liked that she kind of just followed her own thing and just thought, if one or two people can connect with me each time, if someone comments or likes or something, then she'll engage. So it wasn't about being afraid to give it a go and just follow her own interests. And she was a homeschooling mum, and she has older boys now. And one thing she has been doing recently, she has something called LIfeSmart. So I weave LIfeSmart into a lot of what I do. And I'm very aware all the time of the canvas of the LIfeSmart, where I'm kind of in it. And, you know, a big one of it, there's 6 C's. And the first one is connection, you know, being connected. And another big one is conversation. And I think we can never underestimate the power of connection and conversation. And, you know, we can be in all of these online spaces and not get very far. But the minute we have that conversation offline, or we have that coffee, or meet, you know, someone like Ruth up the road, it's powerful, you know, and it's impactful. We can make a difference, I think, just through those one-on-one conversations and connections. And something that Rama has in her group is at the moment 100-day projects. And I put for the title of mine 100-day of resilient kids. And as this is a school for adults, I've decided, I want you to think about something. I want you to choose a project at the moment, something that you maybe would like to do, something that, you know, you don't want to make a goal for it necessarily. You don't want to make a SMART goal. You don't want to intentionally do it. You just feel like, actually, quite like to do 100 days of this. It might be learning a bit of French. It might be picking up an instrument you haven't picked up for a while, or reading more around a philosophy book, or reading more about sleep, or just have a little think if you're watching or in the audience or here. Is there something you might just come to mind or be in your heart right now that you just like to give a go? So you choose the project and you choose to do something daily for that project. Now, Ruth and I have been doing 100 days of the Wellfest, and we found, haven't we, that it's actually not always doable to do it every single day, but it's actually in my mind every day, and we've been documenting it. We've been using a Google Doc to put it into, and there are days where it's blank, but that doesn't mean it's not kind of here as well, you know. And I think through conversations and connections, we're still kind of, it's evolving through that. And with the Resilient Kids project that I'm doing, or my movement, I'm writing something most days about something that's happened, or had a conversation here, or someone knew about it, or I connected today with Eugenia and I talked about using the What We Want crowdfunding app, and I'm going to get involved very much now with using the app, and I've written that in my document. I did yoga today at the yurt with some kids. I'll put that into it. So every day you just write something, or, you know, however you want to do it. I'm using a doc. With Google Doc, it might be you want to dictate it, or scribble a note, or use something like ThoughtSpace or whatever. So you track your daily activities, and then you reflect daily on your activity. You know, how did it go today? And you just have a little think about it. And you might want to modify it as you go and as it evolves. And then importantly, you play it forward. So in the LIfeSmart Learning Lab community, everyone's welcome to join. You kind of share. Rama's very good at sharing every day what she's doing. So whether we want to engage with it or not, it doesn't matter. It just puts it in mind that actually she's leading it, she's doing it, she's doing the do. And it kind of gets me particularly focused on doing what I'm doing. I think, oh yeah, resilient kids. Oh, the Wellfest. You know, let's just do something every day and tap into it. Otherwise, I think sometimes we go off and we go on to other things, or we get distracted. But actually 100 days, let's just see where that journey takes us. So we're sharing ideas and insights as we go. And then responding to community members. So every time we're sharing as a community, we're kind of engaging with each other and supporting each other. And I think that creates a lot of spark. And you just never know what's going to happen by doing it. So I just was going to share that tonight, the 100-day idea, as my teaching sort of head on. And for adults here, you know, you're about, oh, Roy, you said we're 8 seconds behind on YouTube, yeah?
I was just watching you on YouTube at the same time, yeah.
Ah, okay. There's an 8-second delay. I'll add that into my document. 100 days. Roy said there was a delay. That's why I write stuff like that. So has anyone got a project or anything they'd like to share?
I don't think that's material in 100 days.
You do? What? You think I should put that in 100 days? Yeah. Has anyone got a project that they'd like to just share now that they might like to just do for 100 days? Or is that just me that likes doing things like that?
All I would say is you do require a bit of discipline, because I have done a few things that I haven't documented. Maybe the documenting I'm not so good at doing, but the 100 things. I can do I suspect I probably will spend 100 days or more on our project, if not other projects. But I think the discipline of writing things down is also a really good way of bringing it all together, partly just to congratulate yourself on everything you've achieved, but also to sort of pull elements in that perhaps you wouldn't recognise as being elements of the project at the time necessarily, you know.
Absolutely. And I think because you then reflect on it and you don't always know where it's going to take you, some of these things. And I think with kids as well, you know, we're saying, what do you want to be when you grow up? Do something that you love for 100 days. Just do it. Try it for 100 days and just see where it takes you. It might not be that thing that it becomes, but just focus on something that you love to do, that you feel is in your heart, and don't let other people tell you not to do it. Just try it. You know, have those conversations with and create those right connections and build community around your idea and go for it. And then maybe you find when you're in your 50s what it is that your purpose. It might just take a bit longer than the project. Okay, so to wrap up, it is 3 minutes to 8 o'clock. So we've been here for nearly an hour. This has been Random Dialogues, people sharing what they, you know, something they feel passionate about, their purpose, their mission, their story, you know, and again, hopefully creating some sparks and some energy together and catalyzing this into something else, whatever it will be, who knows, let's reflect and see. So anyone like to, is there a word you kind of just want to share to close, a feeling, something you want to share, anything, a news update, anything, just before we go round? Should we go round and I'll ask, Colin, do you want to share something? Pass.
I'm still trying to spell Eudemonia.
Brilliant.
There's actually two spellings of it, Colin, in English and American. So just make it up. Just make it up.
Okay. I think the word I am connected to a couple of you. I will definitely connect across. This has been fascinating for me, and so connect is my word. Connect.
Thank you, Anne-Lise.
Oh, lots of words have been coming to mind, but I think a mixture of, I keep sort of being left with the word contentment and fulfillment, partly from what Ruth was saying about the bringing the community together, the contentments, you know, and fulfillment. Roy and Mark, when like getting the sleep and just feeling happier with yourself and what we were saying. Yeah, contentment, fulfillment. They're the things I'd like to get in life, and I think you get it when you get that balance of personal, physical, like through sleep, and then mentally understanding where you want to go with life and being part of your community. There's just much more a sense of well-being through those things. Yeah. Sorry, that was not one word. I apologize.
That's okay, I've typed it in. I'm going to put it into chat. Thank you, Anne-Lise. Ruth?
I suppose it's just about bringing it to now as well, because we talked a lot about what we were and what we do and what we want, but actually just being happy with now too, because it's a good place to be. As much as we want to look forward, you can, you know, my yoga teacher used to always say, you know, don't look forward in fear or back in anger, but around with awareness. And sometimes we're so busy focused on the what's ahead or what's behind, we don't appreciate what's right under our noses, like this Random Dialogue session, for example. So the now is important too.
Thank you, Ruth. Mark?
Well, I was just cheating. I went on to Pinterest and found one of my favourite words because I couldn't quite bring it to mind, and that's Scytherism. And it's something I love doing. I would happily do 1,000 days of, and that's be out in the woods, and that means the sound of wind in the trees. Yeah. And there's not much more to keep me calm than that.
How do you spell Scytherism? How do you spell it?
Silent P, S-I-T-U-H, P-S-I-T-H-U-R-I-S-M. You chuck it into Pinterest, it'll come up several times.
I'm writing a little book actually about a nature connection for kids, and I've put some big words in there for them, and that's not one of them.
Yeah, that goes well in with your, you know, delving into the woods thing. So it's a great tie.
Fabulous word. Thank you. Roy?
I'll go in the woods with you, Mark. You'll definitely get wind. No problem there. I just want to thank Ian and you two.
I've already got it. That's why I've been mute.
you two and Ian for basically being part of the show. Lots of lovely comments. I quite like the word discipline. It's not something, as you know, Joan, I'm associated with. And that 100 days of doing something, that does work with me, because I wouldn't want to break a streak. And even though I talk about like the routine I have and some of my bedtime stuff, it's easy to break it. So if I was scoring myself, I don't know, a bit of discipline would be good for me. There you go.
Thank you. So Esme's talk earlier, she talked about, again, the simplicity of being grateful, gratitude. So I'm grateful for you all being here this evening and coming along, being out of our comfort zones, and me nagging you this week and saying, can we share? Here's a link. And so thank you very much for joining us this evening and being here, and to the audience too. And look forward to seeing you next month. It's always on the second Wednesday of every month, from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. British summer time at the moment. So thank you, everybody. I'm just going to end the live now, but if you stay in the studio if you want to, and we can chat then. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane.
Put the chat.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.